Everyone, welcome to the channel. You know, our governor here in Vermont, Phil Scott, he said something today, basically trying to encourage Vermonters to not be scared of what's going on right now around the nation, around the world, to try to focus on reality, what's going on at home, try to focus on trying to affordable housing, taking care of each other, so on and so forth. Sorry, this is kind of moving. I'm not exactly in a quiet place, but I kind of liked what he was saying. Just stop being afraid. Yeah, I got maybe kind of start maybe sit here and think to myself, what are we really afraid of? That's quite a bit. Most of it's just nothing. Don't get me wrong. There's some things we should be scared of. Fear is healthy. It's a natural. I can't say my words right now. Natural emotion built into us for all of us to you know stay alert, to focus on things, be mindful of our surroundings. So fear's good. It's a good thing. Unfortunately, people will take fear way too far, especially in today's society. We sit there and we're just afraid of what people are telling us. We don't think about it. We don't think about what's really being said. We don't ever think about what's really important. We don't ever think about what's really going. We don't try to do our own homework and do really our own deep dives into topics unless it's once again our own agenda. That's really something we shouldn't be doing. Try to look at what's really being said and what's going on. And don't get me wrong. We have there is probably stuff right now that we should be scared of. World War III. Yeah, it's a real fear. It's been a real fear since the 1960s. I really hate to say it. That's the truth. That's when you know, I remember my parents telling me how they had to hide underneath their desks in school, along with my older sisters. Growing up in the '80s, you had the red phone that's on the president's desk, and if that phone rings, that means we're going into nuclear Armageddon. Real, I mean, at the end of the day, there was nothing to be afraid of. It never happened. No, we're still here. We're still kicking. I really don't want to push my luck with it, but hey, that's that. But just like I said, some fears are rational, some are irrational. Almost we just people just have phobias. Arachnophobia, fear of spiders. I got fear of heights. No, not so much heights, but just I don't like being on the edge of high places. I don't like going up and down ladders. That's me. Those are my fears. A lot of us, we have a fear of rejection. We don't like the idea of somebody just looking at us and just, well, I don't like you. I've actually had people do that and didn't even know me. They just said, well, I don't like you. Ask for a reason and they like, oh, I don't have to have a reason. I just don't like you, which is probably what the dumbest things I ever heard in my life. And you know what? I hardly ever think of that person. If he ever watches these videos, and yeah, right there, never give him another thought for most of my life. But it's kind of a terrible thing how people are just weaponized fear anymore. I mean, especially the politicians. It is just ludicrous. I mean, it is one of the most insane things I think I've ever seen in my life. You got people who are just, they're scared of things, and prices they're afraid of. With tariffs right now that Trump has put out, that we're gonna be facing skyrocketing prices on things. Well, those things are already high. Hope you do. And I got a truck coming my way, so I got to be a little on the careful side here, but I've got guys getting ready to mow, so I'm not going to be too long. But we're not made to be, we're not here to be afraid. That's not what we're made for. Okay? Like I said, there's good and bad about fear. Keeps you on your toes, keeps you on the lookout. That's what you need to be doing. But it doesn't mean you need to be fear mongering. It doesn't mean you need to, every little thing that comes out of someone's mouth that you got to cowering underneath the table and scared of just being scared of a knock at the door or scared of your shadow. It's not the end. So when you start hearing these politicians and these commentators, these reporters just start running their mouths, saying, oh, this is going to be horrible. We know we need to be afraid. We need to do this, that, and the other. Just you got to start doing your best to ignore it. If it really bothers you, start doing your own research. Remember, God has it. Okay? It's not the end. We came into this world with nothing, and we're going to leave this world with nothing. All right? So try not to fear. Okay? You lose your job, maybe you'll find another one. Maybe not. You don't know. Don't be afraid. Keep living. Okay? And one of these days I'll probably start doing more of a deep dive on what's going on and what we really need to start doing. Stop being afraid. Okay? It doesn't mean go out and be stupid. All right? You should be afraid of poisonous snakes. When I say don't be afraid, I don't mean go up and shove your hand right up into their snoz and expect not to get bit. You'll get bit. All right? When I say don't be afraid, know it's probably out there. Try to keep your wits about you. Try to keep alert and be prepared. That's all you can do. Okay? Like I said, don't let the politicians and these reporters / commentators tell you what to do and so on and so forth. You should not be afraid. Okay? You don't need to be living your life like that. Okay? With that being said, next one. So I'm not trying to make this into a political thing, but it's out there, okay? Especially with this whole thing with tariffs, everybody is scared. Rightfully so. This is new territory for us, okay? That is another thing that they try to get you to do with fear, okay? They try to use fear to convince you that going out into this new territory, going out into this new path that most people have never taken before is going to be a really bad thing, right? All this bad stuff is going to happen to you. If you ever remember in Twilight, it was the very last Twilight movie, and my ex used to love watching them, so I really cannot tell you which one is which. I'm thinking it's Breaking Dawn 2. Is it Breaking Dawn 2? I don't know. Please don't. I really don't care. Okay, I don't fully watch them still. But what happened, what was it? The evil vampire was saying to his vampire army at one point is, basically, this is brand new. We need to be afraid of it. We can only trust the known. It went something along that lines. And that's really a truth, isn't it? That we trust what we know. We're not afraid of what we know. And when you go into a new job, you are terrified on that first day. Actually, the first week, first month, you are nervous, okay? And as time goes on, you get your rhythm going. You start getting to know the people. You start getting to know the job more, and you're no longer afraid of it. Why? Because it becomes known, okay? And a lot of the stuff that Donald Trump is doing is not known. It doesn't fall into the known. It actually falls into the category of uncharted waters. And people are reacting to it. People are responding in fear. They're allowing fear to control themselves. Matter of fact, it is the other side that's encouraging people to be afraid. This is,
oh, we're going to have go into a recession. Well, from everything I've heard, we've kind of been in a recession. We're going to, we're going to go into, World War III. Trump's going to do this. He's going to do that. And it's all to generate fear. It's to get people to turn on from one side to the other. So let's keep in mind, we cannot be living a life of fear. Okay, and I love what Vermont Governor Scott had said was, just try to ignore the rhetoric, focus on reality, and just try our best to make things better. So that's really all we can do. Okay? All we can do is just focus on trying to make things better for ourselves. Okay? I have nothing against Canada. I really don't. I have nothing personally against China or any other country of this world. Okay? I have nothing personal against them. I would love to one day visit other countries, just a handful. If I am blessed with the funds, yes, I would love to go on one of those world tours where you're just going from one country to another. I think that would be fantastic. I think that would be fun. But I don't see that happening. Okay? So let's just stop living in fear. Let's just stop listening to these fear mongers. It's uncharted. Everything that's going on in the world today is uncharted territory for us. I'm sure it's happened before. And try to not live in fear. Okay? There's a huge possibilities of good things happening, not just for us, but for a lot of other people around the world. So, quit living in fear, okay? Deuteronomy, chapter 31, and verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be dread of them. For it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. That is something we need to start remembering. Okay? It's in God's hands. Give it to God. Leave it there. Okay? God's not going to take the fear from us. We have to give it to Him. All right? Let's continue doing that. Let's quit this whole letting these other people control us with fear. Give the fear to God. Let Him have it. Just continue with life. God bless you all. Until next time.